things. No, first, let me move on to your current issue. You are one of 3 MPs who are pushing a private members bill for the repeal of LI 2462. That's the story that's making the rounds. Are you part of that process?
Yes, that is an accurate reportage. 3 of us, on behalf of the caucus, have decided that there is the need to show urgency. Parliament cannot abdicate. We face an existential crisis. As we speak, all our rivers except the Volta River, where I am now, all of those rivers are gone. As chair of the Assurances Committee, I led committee members. We went around the country to collect samples because we wanted to see things for ourselves. And we were so traumatized at what we saw. And we brought those contaminated samples to our hearings. Everybody saw them. So there is the need for urgency. We must stop the mass murder which these illegal miners who are really having a field day. President Akufo-Addo put his presidency on the line. It turned out that it was just as usual, scamming the country. Empty political talk. No fidelity, no truth, no respect for the people. Just tell the people what they want to hear and then encourage your party folks, the Wuntumis and the Isaka Wudu, Sawudu Isakas and all these parliamentary candidates, regional ministers, and we've seen them, DCs. I've published a list. We followed one of my exposés. DCs who have gone for licenses and who are neck deep in this whole Galamsey menace. So, considering the fact that 2 weeks since Parliament was reconvened, the assurances that government made to organize labor, we thought that the first day we went to Parliament, this repeal of LI 2462 will be laid. It has not been laid as we speak. And as conscious members of Parliament, determined not to betray the Ghanaian people, to let the people down, we are not just going to sit aloof and wait for this government that has no commitment in resolving the crisis. They only pretended to want to act again after civil society, organized labor threatened mass strikes and said that they were not going to accept this anchor. And so they had to pretend that they were solving the problem. So we are saying that we will no longer wait for government. We have initiated a process. This has been duly submitted. It's been acknowledged by the Right Honorable Speaker, and we are going through the motions. If at any point in time our colleagues on the other side, the majority decides that they will at least wake up from their slumber and put in some modicum of effort to save lives, to save our environment, to stop the degradation, and they decide to join hands with us, why not? We are willing to work together on this matter, but we need to take steps. I mean, we cannot just sit aloof and keep waiting for a government that says, I'm bringing it, but it's never arriving. Even if the lands minister or the environment minister or whoever is now acting as secretary to the president decided to walk from Flagstaff House to Parliament, where we are meeting now, the conference center, even if they were walking, slow walk, a tortoise walk, they should have arrived with that repeal long ago. So we have decided to act because we are not seeing any commitment on the part of government.
Because if government does that, I'm guessing that would have been a faster process if it was led by government.
Why will it be a faster process?
Because that would have been a much more simpler and straightforward. Because now you have to do a private member's bill.
Well, I get you in terms of if we were just going for an outright repeal, yes, you have a point there. But remember that this process can also be expedited, and considering the fact that there is just no time, forests are going. I mean, remember that 2462, this LI, allows for mining in forest reserves and other, ecological heritage sites, places that we should just conserve and not destroy, including Ramsar sites and places of immense ecological value. All those places, the president can grant permission that it should be used as a mining enclave. So we are determined to expedite the process, and I do hope that we will not face any impediments. But you see, the way to look at it, Sana, is that we've been waiting for 2 weeks. If we had known that they would not be sincere, we could even have started this on day one, and we would have made progress. I mean, what do you prefer? We keep waiting only to find out by December 7 that we have been deceived again, just like when the president said, I'm putting my presidency on the line, and nothing happened. So it is better. Yes, you are concerned about what will be faster, but waiting and waiting and waiting cannot be the option. That certainly is not a fast option. So we are deciding to abridge time by acting.
And I'm wondering what stage of the process you are at.
Oh, very early days yet. So we have informed the Right Honourable Speaker. We have presented it to the legal department, and then the legal department is sending copies to the Environment Committee. We are waiting for the Environment Committee to invite us to make a presentation before them. So we've activated the early processes, and at least we have the acknowledgement. And so we are waiting now to commence the engagement with the Environment Committee. Then it will be brought to the plenary for the whole House to have a say.
And considering the work you have been doing in terms of the exposés on who owns what, the company that's moving to the forest, who owns them and everything, I guess this must be very important to you.
Absolutely, because the exposés show that a lot of licenses are still being issued. The last time I noticed that there's one individual who has been given over 100 licenses, and he's another Kusibuatin character. He has a passport which says that he's Isaka Awudu. Then he has a driving license which says he's Awudu Isaka, which allows him to then get 2 different things, which he has used. And, interestingly, on October 10th, the day the president was meeting organized labor, they were busily issuing fresh licenses to that guy. All the 11 licenses they issued on that day went to the same guy with different companies. He thought that we wouldn't know, we won't lift the veil and know who the owners are and who these things belong to. So the same guy who has over 100 licenses issued over the last year.
Over 100?
Over 100, yes. And they are still issuing like there's no tomorrow. He got 11 one day. Then that's in October. In September, he had another 23. And then if you add the previous, from the beginning of the year, he's been giving over 100. So when organized labor, everybody is saying that, look, we are in a crisis. Stop issuing licenses. They won't stop. And how come these licenses are all going to the same person, the same cabal? And you look at the location, it includes forests. Forest covers are being affected. So we cannot wait any longer. We must repeal this LI, and we must make sure that what is left of our forests is protected, and then begin the effort of reclaiming and restoring the river bodies. So if you look at the work we have done, if you look at how this government has issued more licenses than any government in history, you know that when we expose them based on data from their own website, the Ghana Mining Repository, which is manned by the Minerals Commission, they put their data there, their own. When we exposed them, did the analysis, and it was clear that they have issued over 1,600 licenses more than the previous government. They then came up with some numbers trying to distort, saying that President Mahama had issued more licenses than President Akufo-Addo. When they appeared before us, the Assurances Committee, we asked them for a breakdown. Will you believe we gave them a deadline of 14th October? We are still waiting. They have not been able to produce the breakdown. And
from the Minerals Commission?
From the Minerals Commission. And some of your colleagues in the media just swallowed hook, line, and sinker what they gave them, one A4 sheet, a summary on one page. We just had numbers. Oh, President Mahama, 1,400. President Akufo-Addo, 1,014. So President Mahama has issued more without any breakdown. Meanwhile, when you go on the mining repository, it has all the breakdown, the details. You see the license code, you see the company, you see where the concession is, the location, you see the application date, you see the duration. Is it a 5-year mining license? Is it 30 years? It's all there. Meanwhile, this cooked, concocted afterthought did not have any breakdown. And yet some of your colleagues in the media swallowed it hook, line, sinker. They were not even ashamed. You have been given just an A4 sheet, just numbers, no breakdown, no companies, no concessions, no locations. And then you want to accept that, consider that more credible than what is on the Minerals Commission's own website, which has all of these details. I mean, it's so shocking. And you see, sometimes it's even frustrating. What do people want? Do they want the truth? Do they want to encourage MPs and patriots who are working hard to expose the bad guys and to save our country so that all of us can have a quality of life? Or they just want to continue to align with the bad guys, the mass murderers, who are out there killing all of us? It becomes very, very frustrating. Instead of the Minerals Commission to be exposed that, look, you cannot bring this one-page summary, which means nothing, which does not align with your own data on your own website. We are not going to accept that. That if you want us to accept it, then let's have the breakdown. And that is what Parliament has done. And will you believe that since 14th October, today is 24th, 10 days after, they have missed the deadline. They have not been able to produce that breakdown. And yet some of your colleagues in the media, and I commend Radio Gold for not falling for that. I saw some media houses I hitherto respected do infographics, do a whole show and a video production, and they were circulating it all over the place that, oh, this is the Minerals Commission data. President Mahama issued more licenses. Just an A4 sheet. And you should have seen how the Minerals Commission CEO was embarrassed in Parliament when he thought that Parliament will accept that one-pager concoction with it without any breakdown, no locations, nothing meaningful. And he thought that the House of Records was going to, buy that hogwash. So we are still waiting for them. We are going to send the Minerals Commission a reminder today that they ought to respect Parliament, respect the Ghanaian people. We are waiting for that breakdown. If they do not produce a breakdown, we will continue to work with the data that is available on the Mineral Commission's website, which shows clearly that President Akufo-Addo has been totally reckless, mindlessly reckless in the issuance of licenses. And we insist that they must stop issuing fresh licenses. We've had enough of all these Awudu Isaka licenses. We've had enough. It has to stop.
So Awudu Isaka alone has over 100 licenses to mine.
Over 100 licenses, yeah. You have to go and look for him.
But
quite a mysterious character.
So yes, and that's where I was coming to, because typically you are able to, after digging, tell exactly the face behind the name. You call him a mysterious character, so which means that you still don't know who he is.
Oh, in terms of photos, and I've intercepted the national IDs that he's been using, the passports, the driving license. He actually renewed his driving license just 2 weeks ago. I've intercepted all of that. So I was going to publish that sometime next week. But as usual, you are taking the wind out of my sails. So yes, we've been able to smoke him out. I can confirm to you that we've smoked him out.
Okay. So you will publish his face soon, who he is.
Oh, definitely. We must know him. And all of those who are collaborating with him to create this mess will name and shame for God and country.
I see. In the meantime, are you ready to return to Parliament? Because your colleagues have initiated a recall of Parliament.
You see, the Ghanaian people expect political leadership to rise up to their felt needs, to address the things that matter to them. Look, as we speak, see what Galamsey is doing to our environment. Parliament ought to be stopping this destruction, this mass murder going on. Why is it that as we speak, we are the only country paying a COVID levy? Why? Why are we still paying e-levy? Why are we paying the emissions tax? These are the things that the Ghanaian people expect us to work on, to bring relief. Look, the Speaker's ruling on Article 97, 1G and H is very clear and consistent with precedent. When Professor Okwe delivered the same ruling, why was there no uproar? Where was the Supreme Court? You have a partisan Supreme Court that has decided to become an extension of the MPP headquarters. When you have political apparatchiks, foot soldiers, like Gaiwu, who was the MPP parliamentary candidate in Ho, who we all know very well in the Volta region. We saw his posters, and we saw that his abysmal, uninspiring campaign is still fresh in our minds. How can you appoint such a person as a judge, and then he is called to duty, that this is why we appointed you, to come and engage in this partisan desecration? How do you expect anybody to have any respect for such judgments? And you have read the very embarrassing critique of that judgment. They must all be ashamed for what they have done. So look, the continuous Takashi by the MPP MPs will go nowhere. So look, even this business of recall, so you activate the constitutional provision, you say that you are recalling Parliament. Now, the Speaker recalls the House. The Speaker insists that 4 MPs are no longer MPs. Their seats have been declared vacant. Then we in the NDC also decide strategically that we are not attending the proceedings because you are disrespecting our Speaker and you are engaged in naked hypocrisy and unprincipled politics. You aligned with Professor Okwe, respected Professor Okwe's decision, same ruling, and yet you don't want to accord Speaker Bagbin the respect that you accorded Professor Okwe, and you are inviting another arm of government to dictate to an independent arm of government. So if on that principle we also decide to stay away, you know what that means? They cannot meet the threshold under Article 104 of the Constitution. Article 104.1 is very clear. To take a decision, half of members must be present. The Speaker is going to insist that 4 of your 4 are out, so you don't have 138. You don't have the half to take a decision because NDC MPs have boycotted. So what then have you achieved? This recall will mean nothing. You just have wasted taxpayers' money. So, say there's no call to take a decision. Article 104 has not been met. So everybody go home. The House is dissolved again. It's adjourned sine die. So how many times are they going to engage in that recall? So doesn't it dawn on Afenyo Markin and colleagues that the only way forward is for maturity, adults in the room, to sit up and say of gymnastics. Let's hypocrisy. Let us respect the Speaker's decision and let us come together and work as a parliament to resolve the germane issues, the matters that are of concern to Ghanaians. Let us work on those matters. That's the only way forward. But if you engage in all of this Takashi politics, then we are also going to stand up to you. We have every right to fight, especially when we are fighting for right. We are fighting to make sure that the laws are respected, that the Speaker's ruling, which is consistent with President. And you know, Parliament works largely on 3 principles: the Constitution, the standing orders, and then the conventions that are established by previous speakers. That is what guides, that's what undergirds decisions in Parliament. Those are our pillars, the 3 cardinal pillars: Constitution, standing orders, precedent, the convention. So the Speaker has complied, has been very consistent, and you don't want to respect it. We all came along with Professor Okwe's decision. How come with Speaker Bagwin's decision? And we all know, I bet you, Senator, you know, in your heart of hearts, that if this decision by Speaker Bagwin did not affect their majority status, if we didn't have a hung parliament where this affects them, they are no longer majority, or if the MPs who have defaulted, who are clearly in violation of the Constitution, if they were all on the NDC side, I bet you Afenyo Markin and this Supreme Court would have been hailing Speaker Bagwin. This is the same Speaker who declared the majority because the independent MP, Honorable Isiama, said he was going to work with the MPP. I recall many Ghanaians, including the respected Comrade KWESI, who disagreed with Speaker Bagwin, you know, but the MPP hailed Speaker Bagwin. The same person who declared you majority, you hailed him when he declared you majority. Now he says that based on the conduct of your own MPs, you are minority. And indeed, he has been fair. There is one, as God will have it, is not only MPP MPs. This also affects an NDC MP, Honorable Aka. So Speaker Bagwin has not glossed over that. He is saying that on both sides, 1 on NDC side, 3 on the MPP side, you are all affected. The same Speaker you hailed, who declared you majority, that one you liked it. You praised him to the high heavens. Now that he has declared you minority, based on the same Constitution, you say you won't accept it. You are going to the Supreme Court. And you cry to the Supreme Court, and of course, your partisan colleagues, people who rather wanted to be in Parliament, who were contesting as parliamentary candidates, are happy to grant you all kinds of, even release that you didn't ask for, you know. And in the process, we are making mockery of our democracy. We are destroying our institutions, and we are mutilating our constitution. You see, let's be thinking about the country we are building, about nationhood, and about the future. How will people looking back at this 8th Parliament, at this era, what would they remember us for? What would they remember President Akufo-Addo, who has failed from day one? Look, I have always said that looking at the results from 2020, what President Akufo-Addo should have done, if I were to be in his shoes, what I would have done is that, look, it's clear the Ghanaian people have voted for power sharing. Nobody has a majority in parliament. I would have called the opposition leader. Oh, my brother, President Mahama, let's sit down. The speakership. Who are you presenting? How many do you want? There are 3 positions. Let's reach an agreement. And this is who I want. You to bring yours. And then there would have been no need for the chaos that we saw on January 6, 2021. There will have been no need for that chaos. All of that chaos, the military came in. And you know, at that time, there was no president, no vice president, no speaker of parliament. It was so easy for any of those soldiers to just take over. We escaped a coup by a whimper, narrowly, just because of immaturity, of petty politics, of people who have no business being in leadership. President Akufo-Addo has shown that he had no business. Look, and that is what is continuing. All of this Takashi, all of this, we will go to Supreme Court, we'll go and bastardize the court. Listen to the respected Justice Atuguba. Justice Atuguba says that the Supreme Court should not have been invited into this mess in the first place. And you see, he's right. In the process, the Supreme Court has now been painted with politics. And their judgment is being shredded into pieces all over the world. They have disgraced themselves. And you see, when would the distraction stop? When will this undermine of our democratic institutions stop? Just because President Akufo-Addo is refusing to accept that, look, you didn't win the parliamentary elections. Even if you manage to do whatever to get your so-called presidential victory, it behoves on you to show leadership, to show maturity, and to sit down with all sides so that we can build consensus. That's the way to go. Look, do you know, Sana, in India, I admire how they select their electoral commissioners. They invite the president, the opposition leader, and then the chief justice. And then they look at the names. They ask people to apply. Look at people who are credible, who are balanced, who have not shown that they are patrons of political parties like we have here, you know, known MPP communicators. That's Sunyani guy, that party full soldier, Apia Hene, who's been made an electoral commissioner. You won't have that in India. Then they select. So we should be moving towards things like that, where you build consensus, everybody sits around the table. Then you talk through our challenges intelligently, and then you set a precedent. Look, it is very possible that the way Ghanaians are voting now, that we may have a hung parliament again. We may even have a party that will win presidential, but will be in an extreme minority in parliament. If Ghanaians vote that way, is this the attitude we are going to be demonstrating? Then that will be the end of our democracy. Because as it is now, parliament can't sit, because this Takashi record they are doing, it won't work. Because if you don't get NDC MPs in the chamber, you won't have the quorum to take a decision under Article 104. So what have you achieved? How many times are you going to do a Takashi record? Because of the record, all you need is 1/3 of MPs. But that is not the number you need to take a decision. So we need maturity. We need love for country. We need patriots. We need statesmen. People who will look beyond their party headquarters and just, if you like, giving their base some false hopes. This is the time for real, mature leadership. And it's what this country is lacking. And President Akufo-Addo, who is the leader, it's because, look, you must present your budget in a few days. It is you who has government business. You are still going all over the place, begging for all kinds of assistance, which has to be ratified by Parliament. You have everything to lose. And yet, You are refusing to be mature, to be conciliatory, and to invite people to the table. It's incredible. It's incredible. How did Ghana get this reckless leader?